Never traveled to the Nether Nod. A bright, glowing green portal appeared in front of young Arden Wonder's village house at the stroke of midnight. The shiny green portal opened and fog spilled out of the magic door, and gnarly clawed hands wrapped itself around the enchanted emerald portal as an angry-looking dream monster who appeared colorless, dull, and gray, with bright, solid black eyes and sharp claws like it doesn't get enough sun. He walked out of the door and stretched like it was getting a cramp. There was a light on in Arden's bedroom on the second floor of the young man's two-story house that told the goth vampire, Count Comatose, that Arden was not going to be able to sleep tonight. Not knowing that Arden was about to become a fantasy creature, to be a slave for Count Comatose in his lair at the Nether Nod that exists in deep outer space. "Let's get this over with, shall we?" Count Comatose said, in a hyperactive voice that got him excited that he was about to collect a magical young soul tonight. Count Comatose put his hands through the still open glowing green portal and pulled out his henchman, Mr. Morpheus, who was an overweight troll friend who had warts over his face and was not interested in helping his boss that late night. "Arden can't save the world if he doesn't have a soul, right? And when I collect it from him, Arden won't miss it. In fact, the boy will get so used to being a dream monster that he won't miss being human," Count Comatose told Mr. Morpheus, his faithful sidekick. "Do you have the monster medallion ready?" Count Comatose asked. The big, ugly troll growled like it was grumpy and not in the mood to take a soul, even if it was meant to save their existences from becoming extinct. Mr. Morpheus reached into his baggy trousers and reached out the shiny gold monster medallion in his pocket and handed it to Count Comatose, who gladly accepted it. "I'm so tired. I don't know why I even put up with your old self anymore, Count Comatose," complained Mr. Morpheus with an exhausted yawn. "This will be fun, you'll see," Count Comatose promised, floating up toward Arden's bedroom on the second floor. Of course, Mr. Morpheus didn't have any vampire powers, as his old boss did, so the poor troll just sat on his rump and began eating yellow dandelions that had sprouted over their front lawn. Count Comatose peeked into the parted, draped window of Arden's bedroom and spied on the boy. Count Comatose growled as he noticed Arden lying in bed reading a horror novel for school and thought about taking that book and destroying it. Count Comatose always thought that scary books just made the real monsters less intimidating than they are really meant to be. The Vampire King stared at the monster medallion as it reflected at the full moon and almost blinded him as he looked away. Count Comatose overheard a conversation between mother and son. "Time for bed, Arden. You've got school tomorrow, and you'll have to finish your book report another time. It's late. And don't forget, we're going to celebrate your big birthday in a couple of weeks. Plan on how you want to celebrate you turning the lucky number 13, Arden," Mrs. Wonder said, and turned his light out in his room. Arden placed his horror novel on the side of his dresser next to his small cot and drifted off to a deep sleep. It didn't take long until Arden woke up by a monster growling underneath his bed. He bolted upright in bed and turned on his lamplight that was sitting on his dresser by his bed. Count Comatose snickered when he realized he had summoned a terrifying nether monster from outer space that would devour Arden's soul before it became supernatural. Count Comatose looked at the monster medallion that was glowing bright yellow that could be powerful enough to summon 2 dream monsters at the same time. "Arden, Arden, you would make a delicious midnight snack," a fantasy creature called the Nether Nothing, who was a shadowy beast who wore dark armor and had big horns and fire-glowing red eyes. "I crave your soul more than anything in this world. It makes my mouth water just thinking about it. You won't even be able to survive your 13th birthday without me dealing with your pathetic soul. I'm going to put out your misery so fast you won't even have time to scream." It growled as fog formed from underneath Arden's bed as his bedroom lights began to flicker on and off, trying to scare the boy even worse. Arden scrambled out of bed and tried heading out the door, but a blue, warty monster claw grabbed hold of him and dragged him under the bed. His yelp was cut short when the Nether Nothing chomped down on him as blood splattered across the brown wooden floors. The Nether Nothing burped wetly and laughed victoriously. "Who has the dark heart now?" the Nether Nothing snarled. The shadowy form of the blue-colored Nether Nothing crawled its way out from underneath Arden's small bed and shape-shifted into Arden, who didn't realize what had become of him. Dream Arden wore dark gray pajamas and looked around the room like he didn't know where he was. There was a tapping sound from his bedroom window where, at first, he thought it was just a tree branch tapping against it. Then he took a closer look at it and realized it was Count Comatose's sharp-clawed finger touching the window. Dream Arden walked over to the window and opened it. "This will be our day of victory, my boy. I'm so proud of you. Come on, it's time to come home," Count Comatose said. He quickly grabbed hold of Arden through the window, and they all warped back into the glowing green portal and disappeared. Arden will no longer be a mortal boy now that the Nether Nothing took his soul and possessed him. The Nether Nothing was also considered a shapeshifter, because once it feeds the soul of a gifted child, it can take their form. Nobody will suspect that Arden has become supernatural now that he had gone through a strange change. He wasn't looking forward to this nightmare apocalypse on his 13th birthday, and Arden feared the worst was yet to come. Since the boy let the Nether Nothing take over his soul for during the midnight hour, during his slumber, he would remain trapped until he wakes up, and Dreamdale and everyone else would not be safe. Arden's life wasn't always happy or dark, but he can never be ordinary or magical about his life. Although he may seem brave sometimes, the brave young boy attended middle school in a small, sleepy village called Dreamdale. He is quite the favorite student. Arden is respected not only by his teachers, but his school friends love him as well. What was there not to like about Arden? He had everything a healthy and happy boy could have wanted. He had handsome good looks, bright, mesmerizing emerald eyes, dark, sandy hair, dressed fashionably, and almost felt complete. Nearly perfect, but something was missing in his life that didn't make him feel right about himself. Arden feels as though he doesn't belong in this world, like he's part of something bigger. Even though being modern, attractive, and an outgoing student at Slumber Middle School was great, but Arden still feels like he is summoned for something better, a higher purpose of some kind. He just doesn't know what that purpose is, and it was driving him insane. Anyone who resides in Dreamdale knows that there is no such thing as an ordinary inhabitant. It may be a beautiful village that can't be found on the speck of a map because it's not a real town. Dreamdale exists because there is negative supernatural energy that attracts a hidden dream realm called the Nether Nod. Children must protect themselves when they go to bed with a personal dream catcher made by Arden's father, who is a dream scientist at Mr. Sandman's dream lab. Without a dream catcher, a kid who has had bad dreams can open a mystical portal into the Nether Nod that allows nightmare monsters into Dreamdale that want to wreak havoc and destroy everyone and the world around them. But it's not only the nightmarish villains they have to watch out for. It's obvious Count Comatose is the real villain they have to watch out for. They're the reasons they need to have a dream catcher, and the nether creatures wreak havoc on everything. There is an evil monster far worse than pestering critters that exist in the Nether Nod. His name is Count Comatose, a youthful, vampire-like dream monster who drinks the souls of young people from a silver spirit enchanted drinking straw he crafted himself. Count Comatose will transform them into fantasy creatures of darkness so that innocent children can be the monster's slaves in his imprisoned lair. Transforming them will make Count Comatose a dark, evil, enchanted god in the land of the Nether Nod to retain his supernatural form forever. Count Comatose survived the Nether Nod for as long as time and the world have existed. The villain is a ghostly, pale, gothic, nether gifted soul with long, stringy white hair, wore black brimmed hats, and dressed in dark, colorful, snappy zoot suits. Count Comatose always wanted to rule the world. It had always been in his blood. Count Comatose plans to use his diabolical minions to steal all the children's dream catchers and curse them so that their bad dreams will block out happy thoughts. It is a perfect plan, and Count Comatose isn't worried at all about Arden stopping him. The Nether Nod is a place where nightmares will make good souls have a strange change of dark hearts.